Hello everyone, Time to Grind here, and 2020 has been an incredible year for roguelites and roguelikes. We not only have seen the genre be more popular than ever, with it seeming like way more roguelites have been coming out, but also some of the best roguelites ever made, in my opinion, have come out this year. So I wanted to give you guys my top 10 favorite roguelite and roguelikes of 2020. And small disclaimer before we start the video, I know there's a lot of debate on the definition between a roguelite and a roguelike. My general rule of thumb is if it has out-of-run progression that impacts gameplay, it's a roguelite, and if it doesn't, it's a roguelike. And I know that's not perfect, there's a lot of kind of gray area to it, and a lot of people might disagree, but it's hard when you cover as many of these games as I do on the channel, so we all kind of just call it a day and move on and agree that we all enjoy the same types of games. And speaking of which, I would absolutely love to know your guys' favorite roguelites and roguelikes that came out this year, especially if I don't mention it on this list. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Number 10 on my list is Undermine. Undermine is a roguelite that plays kind of similarly to The Binding of Isaac, except it has a theme that it sticks to really well. And that's the overall theme of being miners that are delving into caves to discover secrets and especially gold. And what's awesome about Undermine is that its progression system is really fleshed out and tied directly to the theme. You have to use the gold you get to get a huge variety of different upgrades and unlocks. You know, the gameplay is solid as well, and although it's nothing groundbreaking, it is solid enough with a great theme to solidify its spot at number 10. Number 9 on my list is Crown Trick. Crown Trick is a roguelite that reminds me a lot of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. It's a turn-based game where all the enemies move when you move, which leads to some crazy deep gameplay, and it's one of those games that makes you feel like you are the smartest person in the world when you pull good plays off. It has a good progression system as well, and the art style is pretty interesting. It's just overall a very awesome concept for a roguelite, and because of how much nostalgia it gave me for the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, I had to put it on this list. Number 8 on my list is Slasher's Keep. Slasher's Keep is a roguelite that came out of nowhere for me. It's a game that first caught my eye because of the crazy unique art style. It's a 3D hack and slash game, but all the enemies are like these 2D sprites that match your perspective, which is a little unsettling but also really cool. The combat is really fun as well, and the progression makes the game feel a lot like an RPG. You can upgrade your stats and get new passive abilities, and throughout several runs, you'll just start to feel really powerful. So because of how unique the art style and progression system was, I definitely thought Slasher's Keep deserved a spot on this list. Number 7 on my list is As Far as the Eye. And As Far as the Eye may be one of the most unique roguelikes I have played this year. It combines the roguelike genre with a 4X city building game like Civ in a crazy unique way. You have to build up a traveling civilization that can go from area to area, completing tasks in order to get to safety before a flood. The game is a little hard to grasp at first, and not one of the most streamlined games in my opinion, but once you get the hang of it, it is a breath of fresh air for the genre, and also this game is just so pleasant to look at. And for all of those reasons, that's why I put As Far as the Eye as number 7 on my list. Number 6 on my list is Neon Abyss. Neon Abyss is a fast-paced roguelite that plays very similar to Enter the Gungeon and The Binding of Isaac, but in a 2D platforming perspective. You have tons of different items and guns that all combine and make your attacks super unique and powerful. The visuals are also incredible in my opinion with the neon lights and the pixel art. It just looks super pretty. The game had a little rough of a launch with a way too grindy progression system and some DLC controversy, but now that there's been time for them to make a couple of patches to address the few issues I had with it, it is a very solid game, and it definitely deserves a spot on this list. Number 5 on my list is BPM, or Bullets Per Minute. And BPM combined 3 of my favorite genres of all time: roguelikes, FPS games, and rhythm games. And BPM is just a highly stylized FPS roguelite where you have to do everything to the beat. You have to fire to the beat, you have to reload to the beat, you gotta dodge to the beat, and more. And the game is incredibly stylized with a hype soundtrack that ties everything together. It's just such a fun and satisfying experience. I definitely knew it had to be somewhere high up on this list. And before we get to the top 4 on my list, if you've seen my top 10 games of 2020 video already, these 4 were on that list as well because, what can I say, I love me some roguelites and roguelikes, but I'll explain why I like them in the context of the genre a little bit more than my previous video. Number 4 on my list is Monster Train, and I am a huge deck building fan, so I have loved the little subgenre of deck builder roguelites that have started coming out ever since Slay the Spire released. I have played several games that tried to emulate the success of Slay the Spire, games like Banners of Ruin or Vault of the Void, and nothing is wrong with these games. In fact, they have some fun to have in the game, but they didn't offer enough new to me. This is why Monster Train shines so brightly to me. The multiple lane gameplay and placing your own monsters really makes this game a masterpiece of its own. It has a lot of depth with the mixing of different clans at the beginning of the game and a fantastic progression system, and it also has a fast-paced real-time multiplayer mode that I would love to see more roguelites emulate in the future. Honestly, this is the best multiplayer mode in any roguelite I have ever played, and that in itself is enough reason to put it on this list. But the fact that it's just one of the best deck builder roguelites that have come out, beyond Slay the Spire is why it is so high up on my list. Number 3 on my list is Spelunky II, and for those of you that don't know, Spelunky has always been one of my favorite roguelikes of all time. It just has this magic and charm that most other games are missing somehow. And Spelunky II is exactly what I wanted from a sequel to the original. It keeps things similar enough while also changing enough to make you have to relive the true Spelunky experience. Your character doesn't get stronger over time, there's no stat buffs, you just have to play the game over and over and over until you are a Spelunky god like a, traditional roguelike should be. And Spelunky 2 makes even people that played the original game for hundreds of hours have to get good again, and that's why it's so high on this list. Number 2 on my list is Risk of Rain 2. This is a game that I think most fans of roguelites have definitely already played hundreds of hours of since it first came out in early access. The game is a great evolution of the original 2D Risk of Rain. The game is so action-packed with amazing combat, a wide variety of weapons that interact with each other in different ways, tons of unique characters that all have very different kits, awesome progression, and great presentation. Also, the game is a blast to play with friends even if they aren't super into roguelites, and that's why it is number 2 on my list. And the number 1 best roguelite of 2020 is Hades, and this is probably one of the least surprising games on this list for most people. Hades is just easily one of the best roguelites of all time, and it sets the new standard for how good a roguelite can be. I don't think most people, even fans of roguelites like myself, thought a roguelite could have as meaningful of a story and as much full voice-acted dialogue and general polish this game has. And it does it all without compromising in any other department. The gameplay is a 10 out of 10. The progression is a 10 out of 10. The visuals and soundtracks are also 10 out of 10s. And the story and lore is a 10 out of 10. As a fan of roguelites, this game made me incredibly happy, especially since it got so much mainstream attention from fans outside of the regular roguelite crowd, and it definitely deserves it. And this has been my personal top 10 best roguelites and roguelikes that have come out in 2020. I would love to know your guys' favorite roguelites that came out this year, especially if it was something I didn't include on the list, so let me know in the comments down below. Also, this is the second video I have made this award season on the channel. I previously made a full-on top 10 games of 2020 that I'll link at the end of the video and in the comments and description if you want to see that, but the last part to this 3-part award season is going to be my top 10 most anticipated games of 2021, so subscribe and ring that bell like all the big boy YouTubers say to see those in the future. Also, for every game on this list, I've actually made a full-on review in the past, so feel free to check those out for a deeper dive into why I liked each of these games. Once again, I hope you're enjoying award season on this channel, and I will see you all next time.